The lead Democrat on the Senate Taxes Committee, Marty, joins me now to talk about potential property tax increases many Minnesotans may experience. Thanks for joining us today, Senator.
My pleasure.
Let's begin with local property taxes projected to rise statewide by $376 million in 2012. That's about 4.6%. This is according to nonpartisan House research. In your opinion, who's going to be impacted the most?
I think it's going to hit a lot of homeowners and renters. Actually small businesses. I mean, everybody's hit by those kind of increases, but it's going to be particularly hard because the state took away some of its property tax relief as well as driving up those tax increases. The renters got a quarter of their rent credit taken away. That's what they had in comparison to the homeowners' homestead credit. And the homestead credit was basically taken away. So we've had property taxpayers, residential people, homeowners and renters, are going to see their taxes go up because of the loss of that. Plus, you've got the pressure on local governments because of some of the state actions. So that was my frustration. I think a lot of the DFL frustration was that when they talk about no new taxes, they were simply shifting it to property taxpayers. And to me, property taxes are really unfair because if you've just had your hours reduced at work, or you've been laid off, or you're retired, your income goes down, but your property taxes go up. And it's a particularly hard burden for people in those categories.
And as you just mentioned, the homestead credit was eliminated as a part of that global budget agreement during the special session. Now, House DFL tax leaders last month said that they're going to introduce legislation to reinstate that credit. Is that something that you think the Senate DFL would also support?
I think very definitely, if we pay for it. In other words, one of the things that could legitimately be criticized is the state was beginning to cut corners on it. We wouldn't pay the local governments for the rent credit, for the homestead credit. We would just simply put it on the property taxpayer bill, and then the city or the county or the school district would have to make it up. And I want to make sure that if we're doing it, we're not playing games with the local governments and the schools. We're honestly paying for it. And I do support what the House DFLers are doing, and I think most Senate Democrats will as well.
So how would you propose paying for it?
Well, I think that what the governor had proposed last year made sense. If you look at our tax burden as a state, people who are at the very highest incomes are paying a lower percentage of their income in total taxes than other people. And the governor had proposed, and I carried the bill, I strongly support it, a tax increase on the top income. So it would kind of make the playing field a little more fair and level so that people in the middle and retirees and struggling folks aren't paying a lot higher percentage of their income in taxes than the wealthiest folks. That raises a lot of money, what the governor was proposing, and that would have been more than enough to avoid all these property tax increases.
Okay, Senator, I want to ask you, as you had already mentioned, GOP leaders contend that local governments automatically look to increasing property taxes when instead they should be looking for savings and cost-cutting measures as their budgets are impacted. So in your opinion, are property tax hikes the easy way out to balance a budget? Are local governments, in your opinion, doing the hard work?
See, frankly, I think the local governments have been doing that all along. The Senate Republican Tax Committee chair was saying during the thing, that's what we shouldn't push it on to property taxpayers. These local governments should cut. And I gave the example of Lauderdale, one of the suburbs in my district, and they already contract with another city for their police force. That was what she said. Well, they should contract with other cities, work cooperatively. They don't have their own police department. They contract with somebody else. They have one squad car on the street day and night, which frankly in the metro area, I think you do need a squad car on the street. No police presence or a police presence. And so they're saying, what do we do? Cut back 8 hours a day where there's no police presence at all in the city? They've already been doing that. Cities have been doing it. Counties have been working very hard to do cooperative things with other counties, to do cost savings. Schools, they're already doing that, saying we're going to take away a lot of money from you, and then say, well, why don't you guys be more efficient? Why doesn't the state do it itself? I mean, the Republican budget said, we're going to borrow money, we're going to cut other people's budgets, and we're going to do some cuts here that many of which are going to cost more. So in my mind, they should practice what they preach instead of telling the cities and counties which have been trying to do things efficiently that they can't raise taxes because, frankly, public safety and roads and other things that cities and counties provide are pretty essential.
So what kind of policy would you support, particularly being a member of the minority, this upcoming legislative session that in your opinion could perhaps benefit taxpayers.
Well, I think the smartest thing would be to go back and make the tax code more progressive. I don't think property taxes should be funding schools. I think that should be coming from the state. That's a state constitutional obligation. I think that we should be funding human services at the state. There's no connection between property value and human service needs. Those are state obligations. The state ought to fund them, and we should be doing it through the progressive income tax as Governor Dayton had proposed. That's what I think we should be doing instead of this, well, this phony call that they didn't raise taxes and then push it all to cities, counties, and schools and say they're the ones to blame.
Okay, Senator, we're almost out of time, but of course I have to ask you, the Viking Stadium is the big topic here at the Capitol this week. You're not a proponent of funding a new stadium. However, I want to ask you, if the governor and your caucus do support some tax revenues to build a stadium as revenue streams to support the state's $300 million plus obligation, so as a member of the Taxes Committee, what are some of those revenue streams that you might support?
None of them. I think we should do what the Vikings are saying, that Los Angeles is this threat. I'm saying let's copy Los Angeles. Offer them a privately financed stadium. I think that's exactly what we do. There are two proposals in Los Angeles. Both of them are no taxpayer money. Why can't we do the same thing? I say give them the Metrodome if they want. Give them some other way of building their own privately financed facility. But no, I just object to it. And again, pretending that Ramsey County doesn't have any share, we're going to hit Ramsey County taxpayers under the Vikings proposal with more than 3 times the tax increase that Hennepin County taxpayers faced last time. That's a huge tax increase for 30 years. I just don't, bottom line is, I don't agree with anybody, the governor or others, who say taxpayer money should go to this private business, because frankly, the way we make a better business climate is not by subsidizing some businesses. It's by having a good, efficient government and letting private sector take care of the private sector.
Okay, Senator Marty, we are out of time. Thanks for your perspective. Of course, we appreciate it.
Thank you very much.